I'm Andy with Photo Basics 101. We are about to give you 5 tips to make you a better photographer today. First tip, fill the frame. Always get as close as you can. A significant portion of the frame should be taken up by your subject, not your background. Tip number 2, change your composition. Shoot your subject in the center of the frame, then shoot the subject off-center high, then low, then left, then right. This practice will let you use the image for multiple layouts like business cards and websites. Tip number 3, use perspective. You want to maintain spatial relationship between yourself and your subject. That means if your model is standing, you're standing. If your model is kneeling, you're kneeling. Tip number 4, add depth to your photo. This is easily attained by blurring out your background and adding something out of focus in the foreground. It'll really help to draw attention to the subject and show that it's in a 3-dimensional space. Tip number 5, use color to separate the elements in your image. Putting it simply, don't shoot a red subject on a red background, and always try to shoot a bright subject on a dark background. Tip number 1 is filling the frame. By doing this, you add instant impact to your image. The larger the subject is in the viewfinder, the more detail you can display in the final photo. If you want more wow factor in your photography, you have to fill the frame. Tip number 2 is change your composition. This means shooting your subject centered and then off-center. By photographing your subject in the center of the frame, you'll end up with a wonderful photo of your subject. However, if you photograph your subject off-center, you'll be able to use that photograph for multiple graphic design layouts, including flyers and banners. Tip number 3 is use perspective. In the first photo, you can see that my model is walking towards me, so I photographed him from a standing position. In the next photo, he took a knee and I shot him again from a standing position. Neither of us liked the perspective in that photo, so I reshot him from a lower angle. This is a much better image. Photographing a standing person from a lower perspective makes them look taller and heroic. Photographing a standing person from a higher perspective makes them look shorter and childlike. That's why using perspective in your photography is so important. Tip number 4 is adding depth to your image. Something that's very simple but very effective. If you take a look at the first image, you can see that it's a dark orb on a light background. Perfectly acceptable, nothing wrong with it. But by making a few changes, we can give it a better sense of depth. So take a look at the second image. All we did was add something in the background and kept it blurry and out of focus. Then something in the foreground and kept that blurry and out of focus. These 2 components that we added to the image give the final second image a far better sense of depth. Again, this is something very simple but very effective. Tip number 5 is using color to separate the elements in your photography. Contrast is key, so if you have a yellow flower, try not to photograph it in front of a yellow background. Instead, try using a different color background. If you're photographing something bright, try putting it in front of something dark. This will really help to separate your subject from your background. And that's a wrap, folks. If you dig it, like it. If you want more, subscribe. And don't forget to hit that bell. I'm Andy with Photo Basics 101, reminding you to shoot what you love.